Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas. You can say that term now. A lot of things have changed in America in the last 4 years, but a lot of things have also changed in Prince William County and as well Stafford County in Virginia. And there's one woman who has the opportunity to retake the reins of common sense for not only growth in Prince William County, but also a spirit of patriotism in Stafford. She is none other than Heather Mitchell. She is running in the 2nd Congressional District, a special election that will be in the next 2 weeks. They are already early voting, and we're going to encourage the great people of Stafford and Prince William County to get out and vote for Heather Mitchell. Heather, you're going up against a Democrat named Candy King, and I just want to ask you, what separates you from Candy King? There's not much known about her in the general, but Washington Post is pushing Candy King. What makes her different, and what makes her not the best candidate for the 2nd Congressional District?
I don't know anything about her. I haven't seen anything. What I do know is her husband ran against Sheriff Hill in 2019. He was the candidate that got $50,000 from George Soros. He also ran in 2017 against Foy, lost the nomination, and then in 2015, I believe he lost to Mark Dudenheffer. So my analogy is kind of a baseball analogy. 3 strikes, he's out. So they're putting the wife in to pinch hit. That's
Okay.
all I know about her. Uh,
Yeah, but
I
they certainly are not foreign to the George Soros funding and influence in terms of politics, which has virtually uh, destroyed not only the federal elections and state elections, but now even the local elections. How deep is the threat of foreign monies being brought into these elections, picking candidates who are not necessarily the best ones for the job?
what we've seen over the years that I've been here is that they are just they don't, like you just said, they don't care if the candidate is good or not. If they flood enough money in, it just shoves them in there. When I worked the polls in 2019 down in Ripon, there were people getting out of the cars, to come vote, not knowing who I was, asking me who the Democrat was in case there wasn't a D next to the name.
Mm.
So they're told who to vote for. They're not voting on the actual candidate. And especially when you get to state and local levels, it's imperative that you have somebody that's actually there that cares about the area, and not use it as a stepping stone for greater, political ambition or power. And that is the hardest part about this is I'm waiting for the shoe to drop as to when are they going to start flooding this money in? And because it's such a quick turnaround, and I think because all eyes are on Georgia right now, because our election is the same day.
Yes.
So this is a perfect opportunity for us to take back the second House district. Because I think right now, if you look, what what are the factors in 2019 that caused the big blue wave? It was flipping the General Assembly.
Yes.
They've done that. So right now, there's not anything really to motivate them to come out and vote. Um, for right now, there isn't early voting because the State Board of Elections extended the filing deadline because mail that was supposed to be delivered um, uh, with our filing, uh, next day delivery,
Yes.
my filing papers didn't show up until today. Apparently it's the same thing that happened to the other candidate. I sent it priority, I sent it registered, and for a day and a half, it had said that it was out for delivery. So, uh, right now the registrars can't even print their ballots. So even
Wow.
with the deadline of Friday at 5 p.m., the soonest that in-person early voting will start will be, I believe, Monday, December 28th.
Wow.
And the
It,
biggest key factor to us winning is Republicans show up on election day. This election is all about turnout. Who can get the most people to actually come out and vote? And the biggest challenge is we have Christmas and we have New Year's.
yes,
Who's really going to want to come out on January 5th? I mean, we just had snow, ice. It could be the same way on January 5th. So
exactly. And
we've
normally,
got to
no,
make sure.
yeah, normally
I'm sorry.
Democrats like to do the absentee vote by mail, while Republicans like to show up at the polling stations because we don't trust the elections anymore. Are you finding
No.
that people in Stafford and also Prince William are finding it very difficult to trust the elections in the purple state of Virginia?
My neighbors that I've talked to, they're angry
Yes.
about the last election, and my message to them is if you're angry, show it at the ballot box. Make sure that you show up because, like I said before, this is just a perfect opportunity for us to take our seat back. This was originally a Republican district,
Yeah,
and it has flipped back and forth, and it's time for it to go red. And I'm
exactly.
counting on all of the Republicans in Stafford. I know there's plenty in Prince William, and just come out and vote so that our voice can be heard down in Richmond.
Exactly. Miss Mitchell, you are up against Jeff Bezos in the Washington Post. You're up against George Soros and the money that he floods in at the last minute for these elections. And I'm quite certain that the Candy King candidate will be receiving some of that money, so that she will be on the air in terms of television and radio during these particular times of the year. Uh, but as we segue to the issues at this point, Prince William County is about to bring on Peter Newsham, who is the chief of police for the District of Columbia, who has virtually been sold out by Mayor Muriel Bowser and also by the City Council Chairman Mendelson, Phil Mendelson, for the Black Lives Matter agenda. So I want to get your opinion. Crime seems to be on the rise. Murder seem to be up in Prince William County. That
Mm-hmm.
causes some problems of communicating with Stafford County. They don't want the same issues of Prince William. What are some
No,
of your suggestions in terms of dealing with the crime in Prince William County?
it's what I've noticed that's been happening is a lot of these uh, the Democrats, what they're doing is they're using COVID as a smokescreen to take more and more of our rights away from us.
Yes.
You have, I'm trying to put it semi nicely, but I'm
That's just be raw.
I'm not going to. What they're trying to do is because they know that it came out right after the 2019, or yeah, this past election, the 2020, when Spanberger was on the phone on a conference call, freaking out because of all of their defunding the police nonsense. So what
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to do now is they're trying to rebrand it by saying they're going to reallocate funds. Basically, what they're doing is they're reallocating and defunding community safety. We have got to support our men and women in blue. They are the ones that are out there, keeping us safe. And when you go even further with all of the horrendous gun legislation that the General Assembly put through last year or this past year, I mean, it's horrifying. If they had their way, I would be a felon because I have a clip with 12 rounds in it.
Yeah.
So we have got to mobilize and come together collectively as one voice and say, hey, enough is enough. No more.
Do you believe that red flags laws work? And that's a question definitely coming out of Stafford County. Red flag laws where individuals say that you seem crazy, but I don't have to tell you who reported that, but someone's coming
Right.
knocking on your door and seizing your guns. Is that something that people of Prince William County and Stafford County want?
No. I'm why red flag logs to me, that would be like me going and saying, okay, my neighbor's dog keeps barking and it won't be quiet. And you know what? I'm just going to destroy this person's life and say that they have a gun in their home and that they're unstable and they're angry. And then you've got the police coming in with no notification. You have no rights. They come in, they take your weapon from you, and then it's up to you to prove that the person that reported you um, was being dishonest.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I, I just see it just heading to something extremely horrible is going to happen. And we just need to go back to common sense, bring some sanity back into Richmond so that we don't have to have legislation like, red flag laws, or if they try to, uh, put a ban on the, 12 rounds or more in a clip.
Yeah, they the people of America were appalled first and foremost that they heard Virginia GOPers say that nothing was going to happen with the Second Amendment in Virginia. Governor Northam has given us his word. And his word was as much folly as watching a TV comedy. Uh, they are dead set against taking away, dead set against the Second Amendment. Um, will you be a strong advocate for the Second Amendment in Richmond?
Very much so. Um, all of these laws that they are passing, trying to get, guns off the streets, and, guns are so the only thing that happens is these laws affect law abiding citizens. They're not, criminals are not going to follow the law because they're criminals to begin with who are breaking the law. So, why in the world, no matter what legislation you pass, the only people that it's going to affect are the law abiding citizens?
Bonnie Williams, my executive producer, is in the chat roll this particular evening, and she lives in Prince William County. I'm quite certain you'll be hearing from her in terms of support. But she's asking you, can we get rid of Peter Newsom? Because he didn't appear to be very successful in the District of Columbia, where we are on our way to having 200 murders by the end of the year. Is that Peter Newsom's fault, or is it the mayor's fault for trying to defund the police?
I put it at the hands of the mayor's fault. When you do not support your law enforcement and you tie their hands, they can't do their job. They can't keep the community safe. And by reallocating or defunding or whatever they want to call it, whatever, catchphrase polls well, uh, it's not going to keep our community safe.
Exactly.
So we have to, support our men and women in blue. And I can't say that enough or stress it enough.
To the north of you, Fairfax County, um, there was a great push to make certain that immigration or the use of um, forgive me, their name escapes me. The immigration department was pushed away from enforcing the law, but
Oh, ICE.
ICE, thank you, was pushed away from endorsing from doing their execution of the law. Um, Prince William County has always been a strong supporter of the ICE. I got to ask you here, with it beginning to turn blue, will you be a strong supporter of ICE in the enforcement of immigration in Prince William and Stafford County?
Oh, definitely. when Chairman Stewart fought, I believe it was in 2010, to have the agreement between the Sheriff's Department and ICE. I mean, it was a hard fought battle, and they made the agreement. And over the course of the years, they ended up turning over, I think when I left the office in 2019, it was over 11,000 criminal illegal aliens over to ICE for deportation. The big scare tactic that the liberals and Democrats use is they're saying, going into these minority communities, saying, "Oh, ICE is going to come get you if you get stopped at running a red light, or you get a speeding ticket." The way that the ICE immigration agreement was set up, you had to commit a crime and be physically arrested and taken down to the jail. Why you were booked is when they ran your immigration status. There was never a record of anybody being, falsely accused or whatever in the entire time that they had it. And then this past year, with the new jail board that the Democrat led Board of County Supervisors, this agreement. So you've now got a community that actually, when I was outdoor knocking, talking to a lot of the Hispanic community, they actually liked the 287G because they felt that they were safer. They didn't have these criminals in their neighborhoods anymore. And now that safety net is gone.
Now, one of the things, Manga, and I can't pronounce her last name, who ran in Fairfax County as a Republican, was a strong advocate for immigration enforcement. And she stated that while she was pleasantly surprised at the number of Hispanics and other Indians and others who had moved into the community were supportive of her in terms of immigration, one of the things that they were against was the myth that certain races of people are picked on in Fairfax County and Prince William County. Do you believe that that's the case, and what would you do from the State House to assure protections and well-being of those from other countries that live here?
Well, I think it all starts with an open line of communication between uh, the constituents, the residents of the area, with the police departments. If there's an open line of communication, if there's any type of concern, they can address that. Um, Down in Richmond, what we can do is make sure that our police forces are have the funds that they need for adequate training. Make sure that they are completely trained to where you can. And I'm going to say this: let's give the police a pay raise. They put their lives out on the
No doubt.
line every single day, the minute that they leave, and so maybe they can have more people want to be a police officer, and then they can live in the communities that they police. So
Exactly.
I feel that if they live in the community that they police, it's going to build the trust so that there isn't so much disinformation going around.
Would you be the fulcrum down in Richmond for that communication between the residents and the police regarding ICE enforcement?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Uh, you have to have a line of communication all the way through, from the resident to their board of county supervisor to their delegate, down to Richmond. There has to be an open line of communication. And right now, what I've seen with our current delegates and a lot of the other um, uh, delegates in the Stafford delegation and the Prince William delegation, they don't really listen to the needs of the community. I
Exactly.
know down in Stafford, generally the delegation that represents the area meets with the board of supervisors prior to every general session to find out what the needs or the priorities of the county are. And what's happened the last time is the delegation came in and told them what they were going to do. not what the county needed, but this is what we're going to do. And that is the way of thinking that needs to stop.
Heather,
It's the other way around. We work for um, the people.
exactly. Heather, my executive producer is sending up question after question. Uh, she's very
I will
excited about
try to
you.
answer them all.
She really is excited about you being a candidate because I don't know if she's even heard of Candy King, but Candy King is probably George Soros sponsored, so that goes
Mm-hmm.
for what its own merit is worth. But I want to ask you this question in finality. One of the things I hear for hours on end from my executive producer is during this COVID event, Prince William County raised taxes for her $232. And she
Mm-hmm.
can't believe that they could possibly raise taxes because the kids haven't been in school, the teachers are working from home, the police don't have the same requirements in terms of enforcement at the retail places because all of those places were closed. Why are her taxes going up? And there's a threat of taxes going up again at the beginning of January. How are her taxes going up, and are you going to fight against that in Richmond?
Definitely. What's happening is because the Democrats are creating all of these new committees and positions to try to teach like critical race theory going on in Prince William. I know three of the Republican supervisors walked out of a joint school board meeting because they were supposed to sit down and watch a video on implicit bias. This is what they're spending the money on, and yes, it's increasing your taxes.
Now,
This is what we're getting.
so
And
so
like I said before, they're using the cover of COVID to push all of this their agenda through.
so Bonnie, my executive producer, is paying for the Prince William school system to teach white kids that they are racist and that black kids are being victims of their white counterparts. This is what's being taught, and she's paying for that, right?
Yes, that is what they're trying to do.
Wow. Listen, Heather, I know that you're running for office. I'm going to see if I can get you back on the air if you can come back next week because I got a ton of questions for you and I run out of time. How can
Well,
people get with you?
if anybody's interested in learning more about me and the campaign, if they can go to mitchell4forva.com, you can sign up, you can volunteer, you can donate. I would love to hear from you, and if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
You know, one of the things is, and I want to just give this to the nation because can you get money from outside of
Yes,
Stafford and Prince William? And what's the limit that people can donate to you during this
there's
Christmas?
no
During this
limit.
Christmas,
There's no limit. But I do recognize that all families are under financial stress right now. So even if you can only donate $10, $5, it adds up. And
okay.
this is a total grassroots movement. It's from we the people. We're not getting big donations from people like George Soros, and I'd like to keep it that way because it's all about the constituents, the voters, my neighbors in the second house district.
But you need airtime because people don't understand Washington D.C. The DMV is a huge area, and the Democrats never have a problem pumping money in at the last minute for these races. You have a huge area that you can broadcast to, and for people in Stafford and Prince William on the AM and FM stations down there can get information about you and your race. That requires money and that requires support, and they can give
Mhm.
directly to your campaign from around the country. There is no monetary limit, so your dollar is just as effective as George Soros' dollars to Candy King.
That's right.
Merry Christmas. You need to make certain that we win the state legislatures because that's how we win the House eventually. Heather, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm going to get with your staff and see if we can get you back next week. and get this message out to the world. Merry
I
Christmas
would
to you.
love it. And thank you so much for having me, and Merry Christmas.
All right. Heather Mitchell with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. You can definitely go to her website, Mitchell for VA. She's also on Facebook at Mitchell for VA. Heather Mitchell for Virginia. This is a very important seat. A very important seat, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to fight back against Governor Northam and him calling your business non-essential, if you want to fight back against people teaching your kids that they are born racist and hate black people, if you want to fight against people taking away your guns, as Governor Northam did, if you want to fight against the red flags and taxes being raised for no good reason, you have got to vote for Heather Mitchell. It's the only choice in all of this, the only real choice. Listen, we'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after this. And Bonnie, don't find me tonight because I asked some of your questions. I asked all of them. I asked some of them. Okay, we'll be back.
Wait, let me tell you how Book VIP is able to offer such jaw-dropping rates